I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Once again, welcome back to another review. This is a review request for Johnny Barnhill. Thank you so much for that. If anyone's ever interested in requesting reviews or reviews of anything, it doesn't have to be just movies. Probably not stage plays because those are hard to do, but pretty much anything. Or commentaries or movie topics or whatever, you can request it either via my PayPal, which is down below, or if you want to join me on my Patreon, the link to that is down below too. If not, no worries, but if so, I really do appreciate it. Now, the review for today is for Goodfellas. Now, I enjoyed Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas is one of the better movies of its kind. I'm not a big mobster, gangster guy. I guess my favorite would be Scarface with Al Pacino, if that counts. That's not really the mob. I mean, gangster, it fits. Gangster genre. But yeah, I love Al Pacino's Scarface. Yeah, I would say that's my favorite of that genre. But this one is up there. I also like Casino. I like Scorsese. I mean, I don't love every one of his movies, but I remember enjoying After Hours, The Wolf of Wall Street, Taxi Driver, which I believe I reviewed. I believe I reviewed Taxi Driver. After Hours, no one talks about, but, well, some people talk about, but not as much compared to other ones. Like I said, I do remember liking Casino. I haven't seen The Aviator. I haven't seen all of Scorsese's movies. I barely remember Teen of Comedy. But again, there have been quite a few Scorsese films I've enjoyed. I have not seen The Irishman. I know. But with that said, what makes this film work, even though it's a long running time, it didn't feel long because the way Scorsese directs it, how sometimes he'll have these interesting like freeze frames, or the way he'll glide the camera around, and nice one-take shots. The cast he put together, I mean, you got Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci as your main three guys. All wonderful actors. Ray Liotta, he did a solid job here. Ray Liotta definitely, to me, always had the presence and intensity. Robert De Niro, great established actor. Joe Pesci, definitely energetic, cussing up a storm, and then some. And pretty much tells the life of Ray Liotta's character from being a teenager, doing little odds and ends for the mob, working his way up, getting married, getting put in jail, ups and downs, twists and turns, to ultimately what happens at the end of the film. I'm guessing most people who see this video have seen Goodfellas. If not, stop the video and check it out. I mean, it's, despite what you may think of the running time, it goes by pretty quick because you have well done dialogue, great cast of characters, at least that are interesting, especially because of the acting. Memorable dialogue. You had a fire? Fuck you, pay me. You don't like it? No, fuck you, pay me. And of course the famous with Joe Pesci, you're just funny. Funny how? Like I'm a clown? Like I amuse you? I make you laugh? Funny how? Come on, how am I funny? So definitely some memorable interactions. good supporting cast. You have people like Paul Sorvino, among others in there. And it does a nice job establishing the timeline because it goes through the 60s and 70s. Not too much the 80s, mainly the 60s and 70s. It kind of ends around 1980, give or take. You definitely tell they had a decent budget behind it. And yeah, despite the fact that these are despicable guys, there's some likability to them. Like with Ray Liotta. He does some bad things, but he's also the type of guy that when his woman gets felt up by this asshole, he'll take a gun and beat the fuck out of a guy with the butt of his gun and pretty much break the guy's fucking nose. And Joe Pesci, granted, you should not like the character, and I can't really say I like the character in the fact of I root for him, but I like the character in the fact of I know he's a bad guy, but I wonder what he's going to do next, because Joe Pesci's character is definitely a hothead. One guy, go ahead, get your fucking shine box. And you don't want to say that to Joe Pesci's character. Robert De Niro, definitely a bit more subdued. I mean, I know this is considered a Robert De Niro film, but I would say of the three, he's kind of he does a good job, but I don't really think of this as a Robert De Niro film in the fact of it's definitely more Ray Liotta's movie, and then Joe Pesci shines very brightly in it. And then Robert De Niro kind of, I don't want to say he gets lost in the shuffle, but you compare to other De Niro films like Casino, which he's the first and foremost, or I mentioned Taxi Driver. I know it sounds stupid. It's not a knock against it. But it's just something I realize watches. Like, Robert De Niro does a good job, but he's one of the focal points, but he's not focal enough that we really, how do I put it? He does a good job, but if someone were to tell me, what are your five, you pick for your five best Robert De Niro performances, this would not be in it. Not because De Niro is bad, but it's just his character, compared to a variety of other characters, it doesn't stand out as much. And even in the movie, I do think his character is a bit dwarfed from Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci's characters. But again, that's not a knock against it, because by the way it's structured, it seems that's on purpose, because of he's not the star of the film. Ray Liotta is the star of the film. And then Joe Pesci almost steals the film. So just one of those things that I know is watch it again. Okay, maybe I'm alone in that. Yeah, not a bad thing, just something I noticed. And there's some bits of humor, even when he's a teen, like the mailman gave these letters, and one was from the school that the dad got pissed and beat the kid up, so the kid tells the mob, and then the mob threatens the mailman, got any letters from the school? It goes to us. Or when the kid gets arrested and he's in jail and then he gets out and everyone's clapping. I thought you'd be mad. No, we're proud that you didn't talk. You kept your mouth shut. Oh, you broke your cherry. Yeah, you broke your cherry. That was a bit funny. The soundtrack works for the movie. One song, I forget the name, but I always remember it. I know this don't sound stupid. It's when a little bit of the love story begins with Ray Liotta and this girl who become his wife. This is a tangent, but one of the VHS tapes I watched over and over and over again was Predator. So much so that not only did the box become creased, bent, and there's more white than any color on it, I memorized the trailers that are in front of the VHS. It was Revenge of the Nerds 2 teaser that was mimicking the Poltergeist 2 teaser. And the pickup artists were Robert Downey Jr. and Molly Ringwald, which had the song, and then he kissed me. And I think that song's also at the beginning of Adventures in Babysitting, which is a fun film. But that song's playing. The rest of the soundtrack works well. I think Martin Scorsese once again does a great job establishing in certain shots. There's a sequence where it goes through and it's kind of introducing all the little side characters. Granted, we don't see much of them later on, but it's sort of an interesting little scene where Ray Liotta's like introducing all these characters, and the camera kind of stops by each one in this one long pan. Or certain ways that the scene is lit. For example, there's a bit where Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro are killing a guy in a trunk. Or at least they're shooting a guy, and the way Scorsese's doing these freeze frames. Or when they're digging this grave and you have this red lighting around for the sequence, around the environment. And it does a nice job establishing the characters. Joe Pesci, he's going to his comeuppance. He goes a bit too far. I mean, hell, he kills one guy who did nothing wrong and just stood up for himself. I like that the other characters, it shows there's a bit more to them, not just one-dimensional. Ray Liotta's like, what the fuck? Even he's like, what the fuck's going on? Robert De Niro, even he gets pissed about it. I mean, they're still Joe Pesci's friends, so they don't do anything worse, but still they get pissed about it. You know what? It's true that they say that Samuel Jackson is in every fucking film. That's what it feels like. And I like Sam Jackson, but since I've been doing these PayPal or Patreon requests, fuck, man, like, he was a voice in the dog movie I saw, Fluke. He's in this movie in a bit role, getting shot by Joe Pesci, shot in the head. He's in Patriot Games, which is a request, a PayPal request, which I'll review sometime this month. I mean, fuck. I bet there's more. Oh, Mo Better Blues. Like, fuck, man. He really is in every... Not in every, but he's in a lot of fucking movies, Sam Jackson. When you really look at it, like, holy shit. I mean, it's interesting, but it's like, wow, Sam Jackson once a fuck again. He probably said motherfucker too, and I didn't notice it. The third act, I wouldn't say it got bad in the third act. It just, when it got to around 1980, and now Ray Liotta's character's in the drug racket, the cocaine racket, I don't know why... It was a little less interesting. It wasn't bad at all. But I don't know what it is. Just something about it. It was a little bit less interesting than the first 2/3 of the film. And I can't put my fingers on it. I don't know. Maybe someone who's smarter can. But it was still good. Joe Pesci gets his comeuppance. Robert De Niro. He's a guy who's not someone to trust. And Ray Liotta goes into witness protection. I do like the way it ends. I think it's a fun bit. Because I guess this is kind of based on a true story. How much is true? I'm sure there's a lot of bullshit you could fill up a book of. But I do like the way it ends, where he's in witness protection. And the character doesn't get killed. He is condemned to a life of suburbia. I thought that was kind of I know it's based on a true story. So if this is how it ended, of course it would end that way. But it's still interesting that didn't get killed, like I think most movies would, or get away into the sunset. He's now stuck in suburbia hell, where he can't get the food that he wants, and as he puts it best, I get to live the rest of my life as a schnook. So, I mean, one more can I say about Goodfellas. It's Goodfellas. If you've never seen it, even if you're like, oh, I'm not into mob movies, gangster movies, believe me, give it a look. Because I'm a guy that's not tremendous into mob gangster movies. But there are some I like, and this one included because of the solid direction, the wonderful cast, memorable bits of dialogue. For the pace, it goes by pretty damn fast because it doesn't, there's not a lot of moments that are sluggish or slows down. It goes by, frantic is not the word I'm looking for, but it goes a clip pace. Like it doesn't dawdle too much on shit. It tells a story. It's a lot to tell, but interesting characters, good actors, very solid direction by Martin Scorsese, fairly decent soundtrack, song usage, and definitely a movie that deserves the praise it's gotten. I've always enjoyed Goodfellas. So, yes, it's not a rant on a movie. I mean, I'll rant on some Spike Lee movies like Mo Better Blues, which I uploaded just recently, but film like this, to me, it deserves the praise. So, thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you in the next video. Later. Bye-bye.